Hello and welcome to episode number 32, I believe, of the Knitting Teaspoon podcast. Today is September 29, it's a Saturday, it's bright and early in the morning, and later today this podcast will go live. I am Liesbeth, your host, and this is a podcast which is all about knitting, sewing, whatever craft I've been up to recently, and you guys, there's been one that some of you have been asking me about. But yeah, let's get right into the episode, I guess. So today I am wearing an Agnes top, which is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. I've made 7 of these so far, 5 with long sleeves, as you can see, like long sleeves, and 2 without any sleeves. So I just set in a kind of extra neckband, shoulder band, I don't know, a sleeve band maybe instead of a sleeve in, and yeah, I made a short sleeve version of that, but with quite a broad piece going over the shoulder, which I really like, because you know the tops that have like one string as a piece to hold up, well, those strings always end up like off my shoulder, and I got a bit fed up with that, so I decided let's make some garments for myself that don't have that problem. Anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk to you about, because this is not a new project. I worked on this quite a while ago, but there are some projects that I have been working on this week, and one of them is sewing. So yeah, let's start right off with that, and it is a finished object. It is a project bag with my little logo here, and as you can see, I've been using the D-rings for it, and well, I'm not really sure if this is a finished object. I mean, the bag itself is finished, you know, looks quite finished to me, at least. Has a zipper, zipped open. There's this fun other floral print inside, which matches very well with the outside. Just look at that, matches perfectly. I'm really happy with that. The one thing that I don't know about this bag is how am I going to use these D-rings, because obviously there needs to be some kind of structure to be able to carry this thing. So I'm not sure whether I want this to be like a small purse or something that can go over the shoulder, or do I want something that's adjustable in length, and how am I going to do that? Am I going to use like some flat ribbon for that, or will I sew something myself? I'm not really sure, but I'll figure it out, I guess, sooner or later. Probably later. But yeah, here's my project bag, and I'm quite happy with it. Also, it's an updated version of a project bag that you may have seen me talk about before. So yeah, so a finished object this week. Really happy with that. So and then there have been a few more projects that I've been working on this week. One of them is my commuter sock that I've been working on. So it's nothing special, it's just my own vanilla sock recipe, but with a ribbing on the top side of the foot. The lower side of the foot is still just plain stockinette, like I basically knit all my socks. I typically don't like that much of texture. Last week I was around here-ish. I can't remember if I popped in the stitch marker a few rows after I podcasted, or did I put it like it's difficult to put a stitch marker in the row where you're exactly working at. So if I did it right away, then it's probably a few rows below where I was, and if I did it a few rows after, then there is a chance that I wasn't as far as the stitch marker suggests. But in the end, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. So no one cares. And there's this green stitch marker here as well, which marks the point where I have 50 rows from the end of my toe increases to well, to the stitch marker, and I know that at a certain number of rows that I have to start doing a gust increase, which is more than 50, because otherwise it wouldn't have been there. But I just don't want to count all the way every time. It's much easier to count, say, 10 or 15 stitches than counting 70 all the time, especially because I work on this mostly on the train to work. I've been a bit ill, otherwise I might have had more progress on these socks. These socks, by the way, are made out of Schipjes Invicta color yarn in a colorway that's just a number, I think, so it's 952. Nothing that impressive, I think, but this is the little logo, and this is what the yarn looks like. And you can now see on the sock that it's not just blues, it's also grays, and it's right in the color comfort zone of my boyfriend. So these are socks for my boyfriend. And that's not the only knitting project that I've been working on this week. I've also been working on my Dusala cardigan, which is a pattern by Asa Tricotta, and it comes from this book, the Ziggurats book. So I hope that this is in focus and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a book by Asa Söderman, who is also known as Asa Tricotta. So I don't know what the thing about the Asa Tricotta is, but there's definitely an explanation there. And there is this cardigan in here that I'm trying to make. Let me... I don't think... This page doesn't really give anything away. I mean, it's just gauge and required stuff for the pattern, which I hope is not that precious information about a pattern. And there's a picture here, but I'm knitting it in one color, or well, rather the mix of colors that my hand spun is giving me. So I've been spinning on some fiber that I bought from Spinspool last year at the Knit and Knot fair in Tilburg, which I will be attending again this year, most likely. It happens every year, twice, once in October and once in April. I walked past the April one. I felt really proud that I didn't go there and spend more money, but this is my hand spun. You can see that the cakes are really starting to get like thin, so I'm using quite a bit of yarn already. And here is my cardigan, and it's really starting to look a little bit like a cardigan, I guess. I mean, there's no sleeves, but I think by now you can kind of see that it's a cardigan, right? Also, this time I knit till the end of the row, which is a bit nicer. So yeah, here it is. So it doesn't have to stay as fiddly on the needles as before. You can definitely see there's areas where there's a lot of striping. This is just one of the front sides, but it's easier to show you on just one front than trying to keep up the entire cardigan. On some sections it's really more striping, and on other sections it's really less visible, that I've been alternating skeins. But I have been alternating skeins because 2 out of my 4 skeins seem to be quite heavily barber pulled. Like this is barber pulling. I don't know, this. Like, you can really clearly see that the 2 plies of the yarn are not quite the same color, not even close. So yeah, in this skein there's more heavy barber pulling going on, whereas the color transitions in this skein are much smoother. There's definitely still some barber pulling, but I have 2 that look a bit like this and 2 that are a bit like this, so I decided to alternate always one that is not that heavily barber pulled and one that is a bit more on the barber pully side of things, and just alternate them. And yeah, I like the overall effect of it, and it's really some fun. I mean, suddenly I had this, I had a very nice block of color where it was not that noticeable that there were stripes going on, and then poof, there was the black stripe. There was a very dark bit in the fiber, and it obviously got to the yarn, and yeah. So, but I think that's okay. Also, I'm a bit more on the easy part of the cardigan now. After the shoulders, I needed to be some minor adjusting in size, because apparently my shoulders are like one size wider than my busts, so I needed to decrease some stitches, and yeah, that's not that difficult. I mean, was just a matter of getting rid of, I think, 8 stitches in the back. I'm not really sure if I did this on a proper place or whatever, but you know, I think it worked out quite well. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this cardigan. It's also becoming much more mindless, because now I have to do like decreases like every 8 rows, so only when I pass the stitch marker in the armhole, I need to think a little bit. Do I need to do a decrease or not on the right side rows? So yeah, nothing too exciting going on there, which is good, I think. So I was talking to you about how this cardigan became a little bit more mindless, because I don't have to do that much sleeve increases anymore. Like around the sleeves, it's you need to think a little bit about what you're doing. It's not that difficult, not at all, I think, but it's at least something that you need to keep your head straight and think like, do I need to do something this row? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then you need to know what you're gonna do. And yeah, and just on the underarm doing some waist shaping, that's not that difficult. So it's a little bit more of a brainless knit, which makes it easier to watch some other podcasts, watch some Netflix series, whatever, and just knit away on it. And I think that's also part of the reason why it has grown so much more this week. I mean, I was still increasing for the neckband here last week, and I think I failed to explain a little bit, but this part is knit like this way, and then you pick up stitches underneath here, and then you knit down for the cardigan. So that was what I was working on last week, and yeah, all this is just progress from last week, which is quite exciting, I think. So then there's been one more project that I've been working on, and you guys, I don't think I've talked much about crochet on this podcast. So on my summer top I did an edge that was crochet, but was nothing major. But this week I've decided to start a crochet blanket. Yes, you guys, a crochet blanket. So yeah, here it is. Well, the part that I have so far. It's the Sophie's Universe cowl. So it was a crochet along long time ago. I think in long time ago, just 2015, but it's 2018 now, so feels like a long time ago. If you can hear some rummaging in the background, my boyfriend just came home from the supermarket, so he's stashing away some groceries. Nothing to be afraid of, I guess. Well, and I've decided to use all of my scrap yarns, my sock yarn scraps, to make this blanket. So I've started with the Manos del Uruguay that I made some Mercury socks out of them. Those are a free pattern on Ravelry, and I think they've been quite the rage like 1 or 2 years ago. It was a very popular pattern. But I knit them as well, so that's the center, and then I went out to some sock yarn that I knit socks for my boyfriend with. I think these are silver ball. Then there's a layer of the socks that I just finished last week, the darker greenish blue. So that's, I think, the Magico. that Lang or Lana Cross? I'm not, I can't really remember. Anyway, whole bunch of nice yarns. Some indie dyed yarn as well. Lily pond yarns here in the turquoise color or the teal color. And then there's this yellow and green one that I really like. It really pops. It's also Lily pond yarns, and the blue right next to it, the darker blue, is Phileas yarns. And the rest of them are, I think, just commercial sock yarns. So those are not that special, but at least I've made something with this yarn before, so it feels like I'm making a free project. I mean, I bought all those skeins to make the projects that I've made with them before, and now I get to make another project, hopefully an entire blanket, by just using the tiny bits of leftover that I had from those projects. Although I must say, like, this purpley bit in the center, that was really a tiny bit, but the rows are getting a bit longer, so I find myself having some scraps that I think, nah, is that enough to crochet an entire round with? I'm not sure. So it's not that they are that long, but sometimes if I just pull out some yarn from a sock to start at the same position in a color repeat, for instance, then yeah, I want to make sure that I have enough to go the entire round. But we'll see how this will go. But I'm really happy with some crocheting. Did I have a bit of business starting a new blanket project? Well, I still haven't finished, obviously, my previous sock yarn blanket project. Well, maybe no, but then again, I think this one is quite clearly different from the other one, and at least I didn't have to go and buy yarn for this one because I'm using scraps. So I think starting a scrap project is always okay. Yeah, this pattern has been recommended to me by one of my viewers, so thank you so much for that. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about some event that I did last week, but unfortunately my battery or my memory card is running very low, so I think I will have to end it here. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Yeah, it really means a lot. And if you want to, feel free to join the Ravelry group. I think that's a good place to start having some conversation. Feel free to open some topics if there's anything that you want to talk about there. Yeah, there's also the more than one craft along going on there. But I think my memory on my camera is really running low, so I have to cut it short here. So I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I hope to see you again next week. So bye!